She was standing in a small nightclub in Germany when a stranger walked up and asked her a simple question. Had she ever thought about modeling? She had not. Not even once. At that moment, she was just an 18-year-old law student, planning to become a lawyer like her father wanted. She had no photos, no experience, and no plan to ever step in front of a camera. Within a few short years, her face would be on magazine covers in almost every country in the world. She would become one of the most recognized women on the planet, earning more money than most people could imagine, and living a life most of us only see in movies. But here is the interesting part. The real story of Claudia Schiffer's lifestyle is not just about fame and fortune. It is about what she actually chose to do with all of it once she had it. So what does her life really look like behind all those magazine covers? Let us find out. Claudia Schiffer grew up in a quiet town in Germany called Rheinberg. Her father was a lawyer, and her family lived a normal, comfortable life. Nothing close to fame or luxury. She was a good student, and everyone expected her to follow her father's footsteps into law school. Then came that one night at a nightclub in 1987 when a modeling agent noticed her. She was tall, she had striking looks, and something about her stood out immediately. She agreed to take a few photographs, mostly out of curiosity rather than any real career plan. Those photographs changed everything. Within a year, she signed with a major agency and moved to Paris. She barely spoke French. She barely knew anyone there. But she worked constantly, taking every job she could get, slowly building a name for herself in an industry that could be brutal to newcomers. By the early 1990s, she was not just another model anymore. She had become one of the biggest names in the entire fashion world, known everywhere simply by her first name. Once she reached the top of her industry, her life changed completely. She worked with the biggest fashion designers in the world and appeared on countless magazine covers. She traveled constantly, sometimes visiting several different countries within the same week for photo shoots and fashion shows. She earned enormous amounts of money, becoming one of the highest-paid models of her time. With that money came a very different kind of daily life. She owned homes in multiple countries, attended major events with some of the most famous people in the world, and became a familiar face to millions of people who had never even met her. But unlike many people who reach that level of fame, Schiffer was known for staying fairly private about her personal life. She rarely discussed her relationships publicly, and she avoided a lot of the scandal and drama that often surrounds people in the spotlight. Friends and colleagues often described her as down-to-earth, someone who treated her success like a job she worked hard for, rather than something to constantly show off. As the years passed, Schiffer made a decision that surprised many people. Instead of only focusing on modeling, she started building a life around other things that mattered to her. She married British film director Matthew Vaughn, and the two settled into a much quieter life together in the countryside of England, far away from the noise of the fashion world. They had 3 children together, and Schiffer made a clear choice to prioritize her family life over constant public appearances. She has spoken before about wanting her children to grow up with as normal a childhood as possible, despite having famous parents. She also became involved in charity work over the years, supporting causes related to children and education. Rather than simply collecting fame for its own sake, she used her name and platform to help causes she genuinely cared about. Even now, decades after that first nightclub conversation changed her entire life, Schiffer still works in fashion from time to time, but on her own terms. She picks projects carefully instead of chasing every opportunity that comes her way, something she could not always do earlier in her career when she was simply trying to survive in a difficult industry. So, what does Claudia Schiffer's life actually look like now? It is a mix of 2 very different worlds. One part remembers the global fame, the magazine covers, and the fashion shows that made her a household name. The other part is quieter, built around family, privacy, and choices she made entirely for herself. She did not ask for that first modeling opportunity, but everything she built after it, the career, the family, and the quiet life she now protects so carefully, that part she chose completely on her own. That is the real story behind Claudia Schiffer's lifestyle, a woman who never planned on fame, but built a full life around it anyway. If you enjoyed this story, let me know in the comments who you would like me to cover next.